The troll is here with the voice of reason.
Thank you.
And now today, everyone, we are talking about season 4, episode 6.
You sound so serious.
Well, I'm very serious about this.
You put on your
Cobra
like your broadcaster
Kai
voice.
Now, this episode is called Dicks Get Chicks.
No, it's not. No.
We've been through this. It's
No.
Dicks with Dicks Get Chicks.
It's Kicks Get Chicks.
I agree to disagree.
I quote Johnny Lawrence when I say Kicks Get Chicks.
We're never going to know for sure.
We know for sure.
We're never going to know for sure. Listen, this episode is a weird one. It opened with this whole fucked up scene with the All Valley, where those idiots that run the All Valley thing are arguing, and then the blue mats. I love that the blue mats joke is still going, but it's so ungrounded. You know, imagine him doing his blue mat thing in the first movie. It doesn't fit, right? The first movie was too grounded for that.
Yeah.
And here he is, and we just accept it. I don't know. The tone has really changed since the first film. This franchise has gotten so cartoony. But anyway, what's going on with this whole scene? This made no sense to me. This controversial debate over a debate is for nerds, by the way, if you ask Johnny Lawrence. This controversial debate over what to do with the All Valley tournament. And they're all having these arguments, and finally they just land on all they're doing is they're going to just have a separate girls division, which probably should have just been there the whole time. Makes more sense. And then they're going to include some little thing with weapons where they're not going to use them against each other, but they're just going to...
Skills.
Yeah, skills. Okay. Big fucking deal. This doesn't mean anything. This doesn't change anything.
God help us all.
Right. Yeah. And there's George with the God help us all, and they're all arguing and they're fuming. And I'm like, what is this doing? This isn't changing anything.
And they had that in the trailer.
Right.
Right? So when I saw the trailer, I was like, whoa, what's coming? But this is what the producers do. They mess with our heads.
Yeah, they fucked with us way too much.
I fell for it.
Well, we all did.
Yeah. So, yeah, when I saw the trailer, I thought, oh, okay. So I started speculating. What's the big change that's going to come up? You know, are they going to have the senseis get involved, and the senseis have to fight if there's a tiebreaker or something? What is this?
That's what we all thought, and that would have made sense. That would have made it a really interesting
but no, they're
thing.
Doing skills tests and a girls division. So I was let down.
Yeah, it really... They fooled everybody on this, and they should have gone big. They should have come up with like the idea of the senseis being the tiebreaker. Would have been interesting. The only real problem would have been, this is like their 51st year, right?
Yeah.
So imagine if the 1 year that they change it, and they say, okay, now if there is a tie, then we'll have the senseis fight. And now what a coincidence, there's a tie.
Yeah.
And we never really had a tie before. So that would have been a little too much of a coincidence, I think. But for this show, probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, the All Valley, the whole scene there was terrible, especially when George says, God help us all. I just think that doesn't make any sense.
They got me.
They leave so much on the cutting room floor, or there's just so many scenes, especially in this episode. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying there's a lot of scenes where the dialogue does not fit with what's going on. It really doesn't. It's like, kind of like when Tori gets confronted by her aunt. Some of the language there doesn't fit in with, like, the dialogue doesn't make sense. Like, for example, the aunt says, well, when your mom dies, or she doesn't say dies, she says when she goes gracefully. That gracefully is not the emphasis. There was nothing about gracefully. We know she's sick. So that's not the point. The point is the whole money thing that they're having, this whole money controversy, right? So, like, there's a lot of scenes like that where I feel like, wait, what? Like, why are you saying that now? And that happens a lot throughout the whole show, but especially in this episode, there were many times I thought that was happening. So, and also, like, when Sam shows up, we'll talk about this in a second, but when Sam shows up to Aisha's, it's 2 hours away, they established. Right. But then Aisha says, Sam, what a surprise. Like, what do you mean? You're not texting? You don't send a text, hey, you're going to be around, I'm going to come over. Didn't. Who the fuck drives 2 hours on a whim that someone's
Sam
home?
Sam would do that. I think
so. She drives all that way, and then she's gone for the day.
Yeah.
you don't send a quick text message or something, a DM, and just make sure, hey, you're gonna be around. I want to stop by and visit you.
I wasn't so bothered by that. I could see
total
that
horseshit. No, God help us all. God help us all. That would never happen. There were some really great scenes.
You're
in this
not
episode.
A girl.
Oh, come on. There were some really great scenes this episode. All right, so then after the whole All Valley thing, we had Johnny with Miguel, getting Miguel all lubed up, and Miguel. This is another one. This doesn't make sense. Miguel wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have gone along with that, flexing his muscles and and oiling himself
I
up.
don't know. He's pretty dedicated to Johnny. I think he would do almost anything that Johnny asks.
Miguel is literally the kid who was just in a wheelchair, who got kicked off the balcony. Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
And now they know he has a girlfriend. He's with Sam.
Yeah.
And now here he is flexing his muscles because he kissed his bicep.
He did.
He did that movie, kissed his bicep. It's like, again, the show, I know the show is a fucking half comedy, but sometimes they just go way too far. Like when, like again, and then a couple episodes ago when Johnny had Sam jump from building to building like fucking Robin, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's just a little too much of a joke. It's a little too silly, and it just does not fit in with the reality that should be created here. But anyway,
I don't know. I just had fun with that whole scene myself.
I'll tell you what I had fun with. It was hilarious. Look, I was dying. Johnny was absolutely hilarious, but it took me out of the kind of seriousness of the story a little bit too. You know, thinking back to the All Valley, they when they showed the footage of that guy of Xandar. Remember Xander?
Xander.
Yeah, of Xander pummeling and kicking
Yeah.
Aisha while she's down.
It was on a loop.
Yeah, it was what. Yeah, they were really going back through it. Now, here's what's interesting about this show. Right now in the world, that is like that's what we're moving towards, right? That's where like the leftists and shit are pushing us, and they're saying that that's normal, and a guy dressed up as a girl is like a, you know, they're really they're trying to stomp on what exactly this show is doing. Like this show is trying to say, wait a minute, that's fucked up. You don't have a guy beating the shit out of a girl. That's crazy. We should have separate divisions. And I think the show's really particularly brave to be doing that right at the exact time where in the world they're going the other way. And you know what I mean? Like it's so funny to me that they're doing that. And even Johnny, like in season 1, I think the idea was you kind of laugh at Johnny more. But seasons 2, 3, and especially 4, it's not like that. Now Johnny laughs at everybody else. Like he's calling people fucking, he's very insulting to people who more fit in modern day.
Yeah.
He's insulting to them. And like look at all the people he's told to fuck off, like that bartender the other day. There's so many people. So I just love what this show is doing in that they are not in any way trying to be modern and trying to fit in. They don't even I mean, frankly, like ultimately, whenever there is a regular nice kid like Miguel, right? Someone like him,
Yeah.
they still make those kids end up ultimately looking up to Johnny. You know, and even like Dimitri, like normal kids that you're supposed, like most shows would try to give you the message that like this is kind of the normal person on the show. Even those kids look up to Johnny. It's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, just a little sidetrack that I thought was funny was that where everybody else is trying to say that guys and girls, it's all equal in sports and they can beat the shit out of each other and that's okay. And where they're trying to move that way, this show is blatantly just saying like, no,
we need separate.
Yeah, and they call people pussies all the time on the show, and there's just like it's just perfect. Anyway, but to talk more about this particular episode, how about the fact that Tori went to the LaRusso's house?
Yeah.
And didn't break in this time.
Yeah, she didn't.
No, that was weird to see her knocking on the door, and then and Amanda even made that reference too. She's like, "You remember the way?"
Yeah.
Wow, how awkward.
I really love that scene. That one just really gets me in the feels. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, it does nothing for me.
I know it's so weird. As soon as Amanda opens the door and Tori is standing there, I'm not kidding. I just want to cry. Because I know I just have a sense of what's about to happen. And that whole scene, Peyton List just played that just so perfectly. And I was so moved by it. I really got choked up. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I can't imagine why it didn't really do much for me. But Sam walking in, here we go again. Here it is. This is the whole controversy of this video, apparently. There's a lot of gender shit here. But no, it was cool to see Sam come in. Sam's having so many problems this season with the family.
Yeah.
And for once, I'm on Sam's side, which I never thought I would say.
Yeah.
But she's had so many problems with them, and now she comes down and she sees this going on after that would make my head spin if I were Sam LaRusso.
Yeah.
You know, after everything that's gone down, and now her parents are like, well, especially Amanda is.
I will say that I think that this season, the entire season, but this episode in particular, I think is some of the best acting that we've seen from Mary Mauser in the role. And
Yeah.
it's not that she wasn't a good actress, but I do think that when you're doing a series, the sometimes it takes the actors a while, to get into a rhythm and to get into like the full richness of the character. And I feel like they're all now at that point, with the stories that are being told and the characters that are being developed, and they're all getting into that rhythm. And I think that these are some of the best performances that Mary Mauser has given so far, because she delivers some of these monologues very rapid fire in a very typical defiant teenage girl way. And it works. It totally works.
I'll tell you what works. She took that speech from Aisha about that beautiful lesson. Aisha, like that moment I thought was moving.
Yeah.
When Aisha said that when Sensei Lawrence taught her to strike first, then what did she do when she thought this girl was going to be her bully?
Yeah.
She didn't go up and strike first. And then, Sam even said to her, she said, "Oh, is this going to be another front wedgie story?" And she goes,
Yeah.
"No, I walked up and I introduced myself."
Yeah.
And so she took striking first to be just taking charge of the situation.
It comes in many forms.
Yeah, it does. And that was beautiful. And that was a really nice lesson. And then what does LaRusso do with it? Typical LaRusso.
Yeah.
At the end of the twist at the end of this episode, I thought was great. I thought of all the twists in this season, that was one of the best, was when Tori gets into school. And I really thought Sam was going to go up to her and just be like, I thought she was going to take the Aisha lesson
Uh-huh.
and walk up to her and be like, "Hey, we can be friends now. There's no reason for anything bad." I thought she was going to do that. Instead, you
Yeah.
get Sam LaRusso psychopath where she storms up there and she's like, "Cunt, I'm going to stomp your fucking face into a locker.
She didn't say
I'm going to
that.
I'm paraphrasing, but that's ultimately what she was getting at. She's like, "I'm going to leave you lying dead in the fucking street.
Oh my.
I'm going to be that was so cool. I never thought I would like Sam LaRusso. But she's
I know,
great
you're
this
digging
season.
her.
I'm telling you, this season, she's a riot. She's really good. Hey, we met Devin. Speaking of badasses, we met Devin this episode as well.
Yes.
Devin's great.
Yes.
Devin's like my long lost daughter.
I know.
She's so cool.
I know.
And it's ironic because we're debating the fucking death penalty. She rips the book. She throws the shit. That nerdy kid.
Yeah.
Debate is for nerds. Johnny tells you.
Yes.
I love when that kid's like, "Whoa, don't take points off for decorum, right?" And she's like, "Screw decorum."
I cede my time.
Oh, that was great. That
Yeah.
girl is hilarious.
Yeah, she's the daughter you would always have
She
wanted.
is so cool. I want her in future seasons for sure. Yeah, she was great. I'll tell you what moment I thought was great. Was actually emotional to me, was when Hawk. Well, there was the Hawk and Dimitri thing. Yeah, when Hawk and Dimitri, when Dimitri came over his house,
Mm-hmm.
and Hawk was incredibly bummed out, and he just said, "You know what? I made an ass out of myself, and
Yeah.
everybody at school knows what happened." And he was just so, man, he put his ego down. His tail was just
Mhm.
between his legs. That was sad. But then when Dimitri was saying, "Look, I forgave you. I want you to come back to Miyagi-Do,"
Mm-hmm.
and when he eventually did come back, I thought that was really great.
Yeah.
But there's one major scene we haven't talked about still.
Yes.
Yeah, major. And I'm not talking about Piper joining Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
No, it's this scene right here in the thumbnail.
Yes.
It's me swinging that bat and you reading your book in the way that you do.
That's how seriously I take it.
Hey, Terry Silver,
Mm-hmm.
he was right?
Yes. Yes.
That scene with Daniel was
What
so
he
great.
said to Daniel, in the convenience store was so spot on.
That it was perfect. The way he said, first of all, when he kind of gets in his face and he calls him Danny Boy.
Yes.
Oh, that was perfect.
Yeah, that was classic Silver.
Yeah.
I feel like I was in my comfort zone right there. Like, oh, familiarity.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he tells Daniel,
Danny Boy.
Danny Boy, you just don't want to admit you have a little Cobra Kai in you. So true. So true.
And what really
called
hit
it.
home for me, and I've seen Karate Kid Part 3 way more times than anybody else alive. Nobody's seen it as many times as I have. I love when he said, all I had to do was wind you up and just let you go.
Yep.
You know what?
It's
Made
accurate.
it's so accurate, right?
Yep.
That is exactly what he did. He wound him up, but Daniel didn't need that much encouragement. This didn't take
Right.
Daniel completely out of his zone.
When Silver says, you were a hothead, all I had to do was wind you up and watch you go.
Yeah,
Something
it's
like that.
perfect. It's perfect. And I'm really glad they pointed that out. That's what's great about these writers being so in love with the original films,
Mm-hmm.
is they get these things right. They internalize a different lesson there. Anyway, guys, like, subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow for another one. See ya then.